What do I do with it?
Masturbate and play games.
Got more for you
There
later,
you
bud.
go.
Oh,
There
well,
you
by the
go.
way, we're
Went
being
live
live
for
streamed right
five
now.
Yes,
seconds.
yes, we are. All right, we want to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike, Steve, and Dave. Boys, good to see you, Mike. How's it going, my man?
It's going really well. I'm really thrown off by this early start. But that's fine. It's
Go
perfectly
ahead. You can
fine.
explain why we're recording early. I have no problem with blame landing where it should
Uh,
land.
Dave's new life really fucked us all up. Actually, it's not even his new life. It's got nothing to do with his new life this time.
It's just
That's right.
a
It's
commitment Dave
it's
forgot
Dave's
about.
it's
Is
Dave's
what it comes
commitment
down
to high
to.
school sports is
Yeah,
He's a
is what it
big fan
is.
of the high school
made
sports.
a commitment,
Yeah.
forgot about it, got reminded of it, had to fix it, and thankfully my two Spurs boys supported me in that effort. It's appreciated, guys.
You see, I'm just seeing
I'm
where
glad we're
we
doing it
fall off.
now instead of like on Thursday. I just feel like that's too late. But the other 2 days I've got things to do. I got, my life as a dad. But otherwise everything's great. In Mike Land. We did a little shoveling yesterday. Not as a family. My daughter decided that she didn't want to come out and play in the snow. It was a beautiful day out there. My son, I'll tell you, I'll give you one little story of what my son did in the snow. We have a low area where there's like a culvert, and then there's a pipe that feeds water. When it fills up, it feeds the water into like this natural swale. Well, because of all the rain, this it stayed filled with water, because every time it rains, it just fills right back up
Mhm.
because the water's gotten nowhere to go now because of all the rain we've had. Well, it froze over. And of course, my son is out there with a little chisel and a hammer, hammering through the ice. And I tried to explain to him what physics was. And I said, "Do you realize there's a game called Don't Break the Ice? So if you break the ice and you're on it, it gets weaker as you break it. So if it's not one unit, you're going to fall through into the water." And he looked at me. He looked right at me and went, just kind of,
Had to,
eh.
had to test it, didn't he?
Yeah, sure enough, the neighbor's grandkid comes down and says, "Hey, you want to go sledding on our hill?" He's like, "Yeah." So I went and grabbed a sled for him, gave him the sled. And of course, he left the hammer and the little chisel out there on the ice that's covered in snow, right? So I'm out there. I step out there, and immediately foot right down to the fucking water. I knew he had left the hammer out there, so I was going to get it. And I went right down in the water, and of course my wife is like, "Did you fall in?" And I went, "Yep." Fucking
He
kid
got
booby
you
trapped me.
good.
He
I
booby
kind of think
trapped
that
me.
one's on you though. You knew it was there. You knew the threat existed.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
got
The thing is
sloppy.
like I had been shoveling a little bit between me telling him that and then me going, this fucking kid left my goddamn tools out there. I gotta go get them, or they're gonna be buried in snow and rust. So there you go. That was my weekend.
So Mike has a wet foot. Is basically what you're telling us.
Oh, and my football team, American football team, gridiron football, if you will. They have ended the 4 year misery that was Ron Rivera.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that they fired him
Yep.
today. Okay.
Yeah, they fired him. I
Yeah, I
mean,
saw it coming.
yeah, mostly Daniel Snyder's fault, like for not supporting him as a coach, but is what it is. Ron's a good guy. I wish him well, but on to bigger and better things, I think, for Washington.
Yeah, I think you're right. Um, my football team proved they were exactly who they've always been yesterday. So there's that.
Mm.
Steve, your American football team at least had a day.
Yeah, we did. It meant nothing for us.
Right.
And honestly, we probably would have benefited more if we had lost, but
True.
eh,
Very, very true. How's it going for you, Steve?
it's going well. Going well. It's a new week, new year. We're really getting through it. We had some fun in the snow as well yesterday, my son and I. He wanted to go sledding, but I was still shoveling the driveway, and honestly, I wasn't sure if the sledding hill was, you know, in a position to be used. Like I didn't know if
Mhm.
they had plowed up to it and all that stuff. But he was really invested in this idea of sledding. So I figured, well, I'm outside shoveling anyway. So I just shoveled it all into a pile right in front of our front porch. And I made a tiny little hill for him to sled down. I mean, he's 3 years old, right? Like he doesn't need a whole lot. He doesn't need to be, a daredevil going down the side of a mountain or anything. But it ended up being more like a 6-inch drop that just slopes and he shoots out a little bit. But it was a lot of fun. He made me ride on that with him like 20 times. We didn't go very far, but he was enjoying himself, so it was a good day.
That's awesome. And think about it, like right as a dad, it's all right there. When he gets tired, boom, inside. There's no cleanup. There's no like, oh, we have to go home now, etc. I
Absolutely.
You
The
just
other
made me
thing,
think, Steve.
the other thing is, as a dad, you then get to have hot chocolate.
Absolutely.
Also true.
Yeah,
Steve, you
it's
just made
not
me
just
think
reserved for the kids.
when I was a kid, at least for, about let's say 7 or 8 years, we lived in a house that was a raised ranch, so like a 2-story ranch. And on the one side of it, the yard kind of sloped up to the windows of the lower level. So there was probably what was the equivalent of like I thought it was like a 10-foot hill, back in the day as a kid. And I would sit up there and sled down that thing all day long. Last time I was back in my hometown, I just drove by, that particular house that I lived in when I grew up, and I looked at it, and like this hill that I thought was just a behemoth was maybe like 2 feet high. Like it was just the most unimpressive little slope you'd ever seen, but it brought me hours and hours of fun. Stayed out of my parents' hair too, so it worked out well.
Perfect.
You got it. Well, hey boys, you want to talk about a little bit of the football, the other football?
Yeah, yeah, why not? We're
Let's
here,
do it.
right?
Let's
That's what
do
we're
it.
here for.
We had a bit of a cup match that was Friday, right? Last
That was
Friday.
Friday. Yeah.
Mike, why don't we have you get us started? What did you see and what did you like or dislike about cup match on Friday?
I thought we were gonna. I honestly thought we were gonna tear them up. I thought the energy was gonna be too much for them right from the jump, and uh, again, right from the jump, they kind of we took it to them and took it to them and took it to them, and they sat in that fucking low block as they do, and like this was a kind of a different Burnley team than we saw last time we played them, right? So they were trying to do their Burnley things, their new style Burnley football against us early on in the season, and then when we played them on Friday, it was more of the old Burnley, like the low block shit, and putting 9, sometimes 10 guys behind the ball, and then just hoping for something to squirt out toward one of their attacking players. Overall, it's a pretty boring game. I don't think anybody was very spectacular. I don't think anybody was spectacularly bad. I think Pedro Porro was again. He was steady, man. I mean, if there's somebody going to give that man of the match to, it's going to be him. Vic didn't have a whole shit ton of work to do. Did get interesting at the end of the game. I thought substitutions were what they were, being a cup game. Also, us being without three of our bigger players. Well, 4, 5, 6 of our big players. But three
Seven,
big players,
eight.
left us
You
to
almost
do
lose
that,
track, don't
to
you?
do the
Like,
AFCON thing
yeah.
and the Asia Cup thing. So,
Quick question on that: is that just the month of January, or does it spill over a little bit?
no, I think the Asia Cup spills over into February.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. South Korea is not favored to win anyway. So, oddly enough, Saudi Arabia is.
Well,
That's
yeah, I
it.
mean they paid enough, right? Oh, sorry.
I would have said Japan if
Hey, but
anybody, but
what's his face wants to come home from Saudi though, right?
Jordan Henderson.
Gordon Henderson, yeah,
Yeah, weird.
his work is
He
done
didn't.
there.
He didn't like the oppressive government and lifestyle over there.
Shocking.
I thought he was
Shocking.
going to fix it. I thought that was the whole
That was
reason
his
why
deal,
he
right?
went.
Yeah, he was going over there to fix the.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was never happening. Um, thousands of years of oppression fixed by Jordan Henderson. Congrats,
What we were
Liverpool.
waiting for so long.
Yeah. So, anywho, back to the game, Dave. Yeah, I mean, pretty boring game the entire game. I think we should honestly talk about the folks we saw coming in and for substitutions. I thought Skip was again just like filling space. He's just
So
there. He wasn't a
I want
detriment.
to
He
talk
wasn't
about
just
Skip.
wasn't he wasn't really spectacular either. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. It
Yeah,
just
because he's, and I know I think it was last week about how, Alistair Gold was saying like, live he looks better than he does on camera.
Yeah.
But from what we're able to see here just on the broadcasts, it really looks like he is like this ugly duckling, odd man out in the midfield where his role isn't super clear to him. Like you can see Benton Kerr and Lo Celso, they're picking up different areas of the field, and you can kind of tell, like, okay, Gio's dropped back, he's trying to receive the ball and get it a little deeper, and Benton Kerr's kind of moved up. But Skip just kind of feels much more aimless to me. Like he's not looking to necessarily get involved in the buildup as much and is more concerned with, passing lanes and trying to be a little bit disruptive, which, when you're playing a team that is kind of sitting back and allowing a lot of the possession and a lot of the probing, it doesn't really help, does it? Like, there's nothing for you to intercept, there's nothing for you to shut down because we are the dominant possessing team. So you got to do something different to get in there. And I think Mike's right. I just don't think he does that.
it's almost as if he doesn't belong, right? Like he just I, I think he knows what his job is, but I just don't think he has the skill required to do that job in that position. I would honestly like to see him playing back where Bentancur was playing, and congrats to Roddy for picking up that captaincy, right?
Yeah, that was a little shocking to me. I don't know about you
I
guys.
assumed, yeah, I mean, I honestly assumed it would be Ben Davis.
Yeah, I
Um,
did too.
um,
And I liked Ange's rationale. Like he said, it was because he worked so hard to get back and et cetera, et cetera. But I kind of feel like, that's
yeah,
what he
he's a
values
team
it
guy.
too.
He's respected. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
respected.
But I kind of feel like it should be like, I don't know, a captain should be, it shouldn't just be an award, I guess is what I'm saying. Does that
Right,
make any sense?
or a reward. Yeah,
A reward. Yes. Thank you.
yeah. I agree. I think it's so. I think it should be a statesman, somebody who's been on the team and is respected, and he's been at the club for a long time, and as well as somebody who's going to be a field general out there who's going to be talking, who's going to be directing, that kind of stuff. That's why I always think like a defensive midfielder or maybe even a center back is is somebody who would be a good captain. Um, in Son's case, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
And no
he's
disrespect
one of the
to,
most respected footballers from around the world.
yeah, no disrespect to Silky with that analysis. It's just,
Not at all, not at all. He's welcome to come on the pod and we can talk to him about it
yeah,
at any point.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Me too. Um, but yeah, like I mean, like Steve said, he does. He's like an ugly duckling. It's like he almost doesn't belong out there in that position. I'd rather see him in a six. Um, that said, when Hoiberg came on, I thought, boy, all right, someone to shore up this midfield, the defense, all is well. And he just didn't do it. Like he looked almost like he didn't want to be out there. He looked like a lot of his passing was kind of nonchalant. He gave a lot of balls away. Um, he still kind of did his thing. He went out there and he was a professional and he played football, but he just wasn't great at it. I thought Sessignon in his comeback, I don't know if it was like the right game or the right time for him to come in because it's a 1-0 game and you're putting Sessignon on to spell Udogi. Like did he spell Udogi? No, he came
No,
up
he was on
no,
for
he came up
Johnson,
for
I think.
for Brennan, right? Yeah, that's right. But he did get torched on the edge of the box. Uh, that was that last challenge, right? And Vicario had him in the midfield after the game. Did you see that? That
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I
looked
Would
like he
love
forgot
to
was
know
about
yelling
what he
at
that,
him.
said.
man.
Would love to.
Looked like he was yelling at him, but I think he was probably just out there, kind of saying, "Hey, this is the system, and this is what you did wrong, and this is what we need." You know. He did shove away a couple of Burnley players.
He did.
Um, but overall, still we're in that same situation. Can't break down that low block. Can't figure out how to break down that low block. Um,
Honestly, I feel like a
I
lot
think
of it is just
Decky was
not
very
taking
wasteful
chances.
sometimes, lots of times.
Steve, what you got?
I mean, Mike's, yeah, you look at the stats, right? We had 16 shots, 7 on target. I mean, it's not for lack of getting into these positions and trying to do something with it. It's just we're not finishing it. Like we could have put this game to bed and just, through poor finishing, through taking one too many touches, to taking a heavy touch and, miscontrol, it just wasn't really working. And I think at one point, like, because Johnson was superb out there until it came to, making that final third decision. But even the commentators had noted, like, because he started to just, you know what, I'm going to drift it, I'm going to take a shot, and it was on target at least, right? A little bit harder, maybe a little bit more upper 90. It would have looked much better, but
Yeah, I think at least 5 of those 7 were directly at the keeper.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's not that we're not able to get these shots off. It's just that we're poor at them, which makes this whole inclusion of Timo Werner coming in a little bit interesting. But we'll talk about that a little bit later, I'm sure. But for this game in particular, it was kind of boring, right? Like it just didn't have that same level of energy. And I'm looking on the field for who's going to be that guy to step up and really push things forward, right? Like Decky has, he looked off. He wasn't really at his best. And I know that he's a workhorse, but Pedro Porro, I think he deserves all the plaudits because this is a guy who is like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking a shot now. And what a shot it was.
It was.
Um, but you
We
kind
know
of
well,
need
the,
those
the
players
thing
in the
is, we
team,
know he's
right?
got that quality in him, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wish more of our attacking players would do that, right? Like it seems like they're trying to do all these cute little fancy things to get in and around the box. And then it just sort of falls apart and it's frustrating.
But you talk about his quality. Did you guys see any of the quotes from the other players who said like, "Oh yeah, he shoots all the time in practice. It was cool to see him actually make one." That was kind of the gist of the comments.
Hey, it's an attempt, and I can't fault it. It's like some of the attempts that Sar would make in previous games, where it's like, I don't know why you're shooting from there, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
glad you're doing it, right? Because at some point, the defense or the midfield needs to recognize that there is going to be a threat coming from further out
Hmm.
and needs to step up, and that's just going to open up space in the box. If we keep trying to do a lot of this cute shit in and around the box, they're just going to cram the box, make it difficult. It's not
I
that
think
hard.
that, yeah, I think that like that's part of one of the drawbacks of Ange's system is that he doesn't necessarily want shots from outside the box like that. He wants you to drive the ball into the box. He wants you to create higher percentage chances, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
And statistically, I
lots
get
lots
it.
of statistically those shots that are from outside the box, that are especially that far outside the box, when they are that far, I mean, statistically they're going to go wide one way or another. They're going to go over the goal.
It's
Not often
good.
is it going to bounce out for a tasty fucking rebound, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to use that as a skill and as a tool to get them to break out of that low block,
So
just in my estimation.
absolutely. And I know you talked Sessignon a little bit, but I want to kind of touch on these other subs too. Because for me, I just, I wanted it to work, but I just don't see how Hill competes in this league. He doesn't seem to have the strength for all the technical ability he has. It just doesn't seem like he is able to cope with the physicality at
He's
all.
another guy who's like one of those tryhards. He does try hard. He just doesn't have strength in the quality. Another guy that I thought was never going to make it was Dane Scarlett. And I thought Dane Scarlett did some really really nice things. I mean, he lost one important ball, but like Dane did some really good things. And he looks like he put on some muscle. Um,
Yeah.
he did. He looks like he's put on some muscle. He looks like he's grown up from the last time we really saw him. I thought Jamie Donnelly was fantastic in his brief minutes out there.
100%. He looked
I
hungry.
he did look hungry, and I think that he could eventually be an option in that number 10 role, that Madison role. Like, we keep hearing from some other fellow podcasters that like he's the closest like for like. And for what it's worth, like it's hard to kind of pull that out of like I watched some of those youth matches on the Spurs play, but anytime I've seen him, it's kind of like it's hard to kind of to figure out whether that system that they're playing down at that level is the same that they're playing up here. And under previous managers, it wasn't. It was like the U21s, the U18s, the U16s were all doing their own thing. And now it seems that they're more on pace to kind of develop within the Postacoglu system of playing out from the back and through the midfield and just kind of all out attacking. And it's really I think it's really going to be a benefit to Spurs moving forward, because you're going to get a lot more of these homegrown youth academy players uh, making good with the club, and we're going to have a system where we can funnel them up through to the big club, or we can sell them for money to buy other players when we need them.
Yeah, that's spot on. Speaking of, Phillips is gone now too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Championship loan, which is interesting to me. I don't know why that's. I just it's interesting to me that it's Phillips and not Dorrington. I think Dorrington has got to be the guy who's closer to the first team, and I have to wonder what is it about the two of them that is so different? Because at the start of the season, I would have expected Phillips to be closer to the first team, but he seems to have drifted down the pecking order. And even in games where there is a youth center back out there, it seems Dorrington is the option instead.
I think the main thing is that Dorrington is kind of better with the ball at his feet, is a better distributor. But I mean that's not to say that I think Phillips is going to be a better player. I just think he needs just more time. And I think that's kind of why they sent him out on loan versus keeping him here and training with the first team, or even playing with the U21s. It's better to have that academy kid, I think, in my estimation, to stay with the academy, stay with the club, um, and make the loan when they're ready. Like, the Phillips has already played championship, right? He's in a championship side. He's just needs to develop a little more, get a little tougher, get better with the ball out of his feet, become a better overall defender. Um, I think his size and his pace is what's going to really help him in the future. I think he just needs to make those progressions. And you know, I could just be talking out of my ass. I mean, I know fuck all about anything. Um,
You're selling
who
yourself
the
short.
who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what's going through the minds of these guys when they're sending their players out on loan?
Look,
Who
all I
knows?
know is that apparently the team he's going to is like they've got an abysmal defense, so it sounds like he's got the opportunity to step in and honestly, I think probably show some leadership qualities, like kind of like how Divine's doing, right? He's got to step up into a team that's not really all that great and just prove it, like lift them up around him. And maybe it's the same thing for Phillips. He's going into this team, they're not performing well. Maybe he's got to be the guy to like grow up a little bit and take some charge because he does want to impress the Spurs higher ups. and whoever else is keeping an eye on him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
I think that do we want to talk about some transfers right now? Like some of the ITK, Mike TK.
Well, you're itching to, aren't you, Mike?
oh, let's
Oh
talk Mike
God.
TK.
You just want to
No, no,
go
so
there.
we can let's talk about
And then I
this
think Dave's
because
sitting on a question too. So
I do. I
let's
have
talk. Let's
something
start with the Mike TK.
do have something I want to ask.
we can do the question whenever you want, or we can pivot to ex
Mike
Chelsea
TK. Mike
hated
TK.
players.
Yeah,
Mike
let's
TK.
well, either
Give
way,
the fan what he wants.
both questions have to do with Mike. So Mike, TKS.
Listen, okay, for what it's worth, I fucking hate I I hate that it's Timo Werner because maybe it's misguided, misdirected. It seems he's already pretty coy, but I guess if he gets a chance to get back to the Premier League, uh, you're gonna be coy. You're gonna be fucking tune whatever fucking other. You're gonna be a gunner for life, whatever. If you can get back to the Premier League, that's a big deal for any player. That said, I hated the fucking guy, and I hate that I have to probably love him now and hope that he does well. The the thing that I've been sitting on after I initially heard is that this is probably a pretty good deal, right?
It's a great deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
probably it's
we're
likely.
we're paying his wages, which might be kind of high. We're at no risk at all. There's no money being exchanged, so it's until
I think I saw the option is 17 million on the back end. Like,
yeah, I mean, and that's
come on,
almost nothing.
that's almost
If
nothing.
so, like if he makes well, fuck yeah, let's do this. And if he doesn't, go back to Germany. I mean, it's one or the other, and I think it's low risk, it's high reward. The guy's got pace, he's got strength. He can play attacking midfield, he can play on the left, he can play up the middle. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. I keep saying it, but
Mike, do you think
he
he
can play
looks
in
like?
multiple positions, and he's fast as fuck, dude, and he's good with the ball at his feet.
Do you think he looks like Max Verstappen?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Interesting.
No,
Interesting.
no. I think he looks like a German soldier who is just sitting. He's like in a World War II movie. He's one of the guys in the periphery that you just kind of see. He doesn't have a speaking part or anything.
Just generic German soldier number 3 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he's just
Are you?
marching in a line.
I like how you're not directly calling him a word that you don't want to call him.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is
He looks like a German soldier in a particular war with no particular lines and doing nothing in particular. A way to dance around it.
okay. He looks like an actor portraying a German soldier in a
Oh
Christoph
boy.
No,
Christoph
you're
Waltz
We're
stuck.
did
getting
There's
canceled,
Christoph
aren't
Waltz
we?
did it,
no
and
path
he's
out.
he's a beloved actor.
You could have just said he looked like Verstappen and you would have been totally fine.
He
But
doesn't look anything like Verstappen.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Sting?
Sting the wrestler or Sting the singer?
Yes.
Same person.
Yeah, of course they're the same person. I don't want to hear anything otherwise.
So I mean, I want to hear Steve's take on this because I'm sure he's got some stuff to enlighten us with as far as this is the type of player is it. Do we need that type of player? I think for me, it's just all the players we can get in that have quality, that have Premier League experience, or that have big, high level experience. Bring them in because we need depth.
So my thoughts on the whole Werder thing, I've got two, right? The first and foremost, and the one that I think everybody in Spursland should really be thinking about when it comes down to this and any other transfer. If Ange wants him, just let him have it. Like this dude is doing miracles for us right now. If he says that this is the guy, he's the guy. Like I want him to. I get the whole not liking him, and he has had a pretty not even a terrible record. He's just kind of a meme in a way in the league based off of his time at Chelsea. But again, the second thing that I would mention is Richarlison was kind of a meme too, and he's been doing significantly better, staying on sides more, getting the goals, getting the assists. If Ange can get Richarlison firing like that, I think Werner has a significant potential to be a game changer for us in some capacities, right? He's like Mike said, he's versatile, so he adds a different dynamic than a lot of what we've seen. We have a lot of versatility in the team, but sometimes you need somebody who's a little bit better at one particular facet, right? The speed in some cases, which, like Mike said, Werner's got in spades. So for me, having him on board as somebody that Ange requested and they've had the conversation and he's excited to be here and put the effort in for Ange, I think it could really work out. And honestly, if it does, if he absolutely lights it up the back half of the season, 17 mil is a steal in the market. And you know what? If he sucks ass, he just goes back to Leipzig and we never talk about him again. Problem solved. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's a pretty interesting option. And it's one of those like so far out of left field, unexpected options that I'm genuinely curious about it because this could work. It could be another, brilliant Ange moment, and I am all for that.
Steve, Mike, what about the some of the other
Uh,
names that are floating about out there?
Listen, so
Mike, you've been waiting for this. You love this. We don't
I
normally
love
let you do
so
this, and we are letting
I
you
want
go.
Khal Drogo on our fucking team
Khal
by the end of this
Drogo.
fucking week. By the end of this fucking week, I want him. He's gonna be the guy who is gonna pick up yellow cards when Romero's not around to pick up yellow cards.
They'll just alternate
Um,
suspensions. It's fine.
that's correct. That's correct. It's like, holy shit, you're on 4. We got to put Khal Drogo in just to make sure that you don't get your 5th. And when you do get your 5th, then he will only have 3 at that point, and then it's going to rotate. It's going to be perfect. No, I think he's going to be perfect option to back up and play that Romero type role.
Fun
Um,
fact, he actually only has one yellow card this season.
Great. You know what? You said that about fucking Romero too, and then what happened?
He got all of the yellow cards.
All of them.
Just don't worry about it.
And
It's
even a
fine.
red.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
so so since it was announced that we were coming after him, thanks Fab Romano, what has happened? Napoli has jumped in, AC Milan has jumped in, and now today Bayern Munich has jumped in on it.
I
Um,
just think his
I
agent's
think
stirring the
I
pot.
think the I think the AC Milan thing it was just a little bit of much ado about nothing, probably coming out of his camp, but just to get Spurs moving. Um, Spurs are going to have to get closer to that 30 million that they want, and I think they will. I think they're just trying to save a few bucks as they always do. I'm hoping that it gets over the line pretty soon, but you got to be concerned when somebody like Bayern Munich comes sniffing around, especially when they're coming after one of our defenders.
Dude, they
That
can have Dyer.
I don't know why Tuchel would want him in that system.
Who cares?
I think Dragusin would be perfect, or
Don't
Dragushin, or however you
don't
pronounce it.
we don't talk about
What,
they
that
want
nose picker?
Dyer.
You
They
do
want
want Dyer.
Dyer.
Well, here's the thing. This is where I'm kind of going with this, is that I think it's maybe Bayern Munich trying to force our hand uh in order to get Dyer out the door to them as quickly as they can. They do need a center back. Um and if they don't get some defensive help soon, they're not going to win their league. That said, we need them too. I think all the actual like real outlets that are reporting real news, real ITK. I also profess to say that ITK is not real. But it's not real until it's real, right, Dave?
Darn, Skippy, show me the jersey. Hit.
That's right.
Show me the team
But
announcement.
most of the reputable sources are coming out and saying the Spurs are still in the driver's seat. It's all being hammered out as we speak, and it should be done by the end of the week. Let's hope that happens, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. Um, and we might have another defender coming in. Is that correct, Steve?
Another defender.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're talking about my return to the gym and working out and making myself available. Yes, I do play defense. Postacoglu, call me up anytime. Happy to jump in.
I don't. I don't. I
What were
don't.
you going for there, Mike? What were you actually looking
Loic
at?
Loic Bade.
I know nothing about this guy.
Yeah, he's like 20. He's like 23 years old. Um, he's a central defender with speed. He's got good ball handling skills. Um,
Speed, huh? Great movie.
it was a great movie. Great movie. Anyway, so we might have another center back coming in too. There's been multiple mentions about Connor Gallagher. Um, uh, Morgan Gibbs White was mentioned at one point. Like the Connor Gallagher and the Gibbs White ones are the fun ones, but Nottingham Forest apparently just came out and said that they want 90 million for him.
Yeah, okay, good
There
luck.
you go.
Like,
Very nice.
Nope.
no thanks.
Very nice. Mike,
So
there's one
this has
thing
been your edition of Mike TK.
Mike TK. There was something else I was wondering about. Would you like to know what it is?
Yeah.
Steve, I'm telepathically shooting it over to you. I got a question that I'd love for you to ask Mike.
Hey, Mike, what you drinking?
Oh, dude. I was just drinking this delicious Barks zero sugar.
I was like, wait, Barks makes beer or non-alcoholic beer?
That's a root beer,
Root
David.
beer. Root beer.
Root
The
beer.
root of all beer.
So yeah, still on not 8 days in. I'm still
It's all January 8th. Yay!
I just said to my wife when I got home, I was like, I need a beer. I just need a beer. I just need a beer. I'm gonna go near beer. Today we're gonna go safety glasses.
Safety glasses, huh?
Yep, safety glasses.
Who's the brewer on this bad boy?
This is the Industrial Arts.
That's right. I remember that one.
So let's just pop this open. This is a NA near beer IPA.
It's a near beer IPA.
Mhm.
I'm just skeptical.
You should be, David.
I know.
You should be.
You can't bring me big flavors without big impact.
It doesn't smell bad.
I picked up today a 4-pack of Bay State. Becky likes the smell. I know that's a good one. I know, Mike.
I
You're
love
a
that
fan
one. I
of Bay
really
State.
love that one.
And then I picked up these the hazy rays that I'm drinking currently. Little just
Ooh,
Lawson's
Lawson's.
have to grab a little Lawson's.
Finest liquids. I did actually previously drink another Here We Go from the last pod.
Did your
from the last
did
one,
your
yeah.
rating and opinion hold up?
Yeah.
As
I was trying to manifest the Mike TK by drinking that.
And then you realize it's the alcohol that does it. That was what you learned, right?
No, I typically don't learn much. So I'm just using this mug, my Queen City mug.
Look at that! Look at that head.
Yeah, none. So this is what's been happening.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah, it is really disappointing when you get no head.
Wah.
It smells good. It smells like an IPA. I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be light and fizzy.
Looks like a cider.
Yeah. So the thing with these near beers is that when they're brewed, obviously there's very little yeast used. So the yeast isn't able to do its job and eat all the sugar in there. So you're gonna get high sugar content. You're gonna get You're gonna get low flavor from that yeast. You're gonna get the all of the stuff, all the malts and stuff aren't gonna be able to develop and and work with the beer the way that they're supposed to, um, because the yeast helps them do that. So it's gonna be a sweet. It's gonna be fizzy probably, and it's gonna taste probably like one of those quote unquote session IPAs, that the light IPAs that they make. So um, bottoms up, fellas. You can tell that I'm very excited about this.
Oh yeah, I'm actually dreading the fact that you have to drink it. That's how
Yeah,
I
I've
feel
got
with it.
secondhand sort of like disgust.
Right.
He's all right. That was an interesting face. He's thinking. He's pondering. He doesn't look
It,
impressed.
it tastes like every other one that I've had, every other near beer IPA that I've had. We're gonna have to move to something else, like
Do they make anything else?
a different flavored near beer. Um,
You've exhausted you've exhausted the near beer. It's January 8th.
I
This is pretty funny.
I bought a case of near beers, Dave.
You bought a case.
Yeah.
Well, that'll
Why
last
would
you
you do
about
that?
4 years, hopefully.
So I did that. I did that because I thought I would be drinking a bunch of them, not knowing that there were like fucking 18 carbs in a beer.
Oh, that's nothing.
It's like,
Try
no,
eating a sleeve of Oreos.
yeah, Steve, you don't have the genetics that I have, that don't allow
Captain
me to eat a
Captain
fucking sleeve
Metabolism
of
over here, right,
Oreos.
Mike? Yeah.
My metabolism is slowly killing me as it gets slower.
Steve with the metabolism of a 30 something. Just wait, brother. Just wait.
I'm
Uh,
waiting.
yeah, right. Yeah. So let's get right in this because it tastes like a beer flavored soda pop.
Ugh.
Yuck. Yeah.
It is, like I
You're
said,
not
it
you're not
is
enlightening me here. Or you're
it is
enlightening me, but
sweet.
you're
It
not.
has the hop flavor, so it's like it's like they've taken a flat beer and added some soda water to it.
So
I'm,
like
I'm
Miller
just
Lite.
like my scale's all fucking thrown off because of this shit, and I can't wait till I get back and I have like a robust fucking beer,
Oh, bust.
like a real robust. Like, yes, this is it.
I'm getting more
Um,
from my sister. I'm very excited.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a near beer scale. Um, Reinventing the scale, I guess.
Oh,
Oh no.
I would not.
you
You
gonna
know what you want?
change
No,
the
you know what? We're not changing anything. Fuck this.
change the grading scale.
This for me is a 2.8.
Snappity
Ooh.
crackle pop. How about
You
that?
can you can open it. You can drink it if you're not drinking beers. Um, it's it's
Just pick something else.
You know what
yeah.
your lack of enthusiasm is reminding me of, Mike? It reminds me of like it reminds me of when you need to talk to customer service somewhere and you want to talk to a human, right? At the very least, just argue with them. And they keep trying to make you deal with the AI chat bot, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it's not a human, it's pretending to be a human. It does a reasonable job of
And
being
you're
a
like going,
simplistic human.
representative,
You totally
representative.
totally like that's what your reaction and description of this beer reminds me of. Is the AI chatbot.
Yeah, it's a 2.8.
Yeah,
Damn. I took the lazy option.
did. Yeah, yeah. Steve went 3.5. I went 3.1. I knew you were going low,
He
but
said
I
it
didn't.
tasted the same as every other beer, so I went, all right, so it's got to have the same rating, right?
Yeah, didn't know you'd
Every
go
other
down in the
near
twos.
beer, but it doesn't do anything to like. It doesn't do anything to distinguish itself from the other near beers. Actually, I did have what's the zero gravity one? I had that at the pub the other day watching the match. That was okay. Jason and I put down a couple of those each, but those are pretty good. But this was just not great. It's not special. It's just tastes just like every other one that I've had. Um, and for me, a song, Christ, I'm gonna go with Billy Joel, Piano Man.
We finally got a Billy Joel.
We got back to Billy Joel with a beer that he hates. We see what he did there.
I finally gave it
Have
to
you
you.
not used Piano Man before? I feel like you might have.
No, I've used We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've
he
used that.
did. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Fair.
was the last one I've done.
All right. All
All
right.
right. Hey,
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday.
hey, this has
This
been
beer
Hey
makes me
Mike,
want to fucking puke.
what you drinking? He's drinking a crappy non-alcoholic beer, and we're just glad we have to watch you finish it. No. What would you rather
See,
have,
next
that
time.
beer or the colon cleanse orange drink that you had a couple years back?
I'm drinking this, aren't I?
You drank that too.
Yeah. That's because there's going to be a test after.
All
I
right,
didn't want to
fair,
fail.
fair, fair, fair. All right, this has been Hey Mike, what you drinking? So well done, Mikey. Let's move on. Let's look ahead. What's coming up next weekend, right?
Yeah.
This is
Sunday.
yeah, we're recording Monday, so this is Sunday, still a bit of a ways off. What do we have, boys?
Manchester United.
Who are they?
They are honestly,
A
I
bunch of
I don't quite
twats.
get it. They're a team that doesn't make sense to me.
How so?
So it's I feel like they should be doing better than they are, but are I can't tell if it's because the chemistry isn't there or they're just that poorly managed. But it seems like when it works for them, it works great. And when it doesn't work, it is an absolute dumpster fire. And there's no in between. And I had to look it up. And if you look at their standings, they've got 10 wins, a draw, and 9 losses. So it sort of supports that theory that they either do it
Yeah,
well or don't do it at all.
yeah,
And with a -5 goal differential, the heaviness lies on the not doing well at all.
indeed.
Um, Still eighth in the table, though. I mean, they're still a competitor. It's still a team that we've got to be worried about. But this isn't the United of past where I feel nervous about the game. I feel, especially if we can get in a actual honest to God center back, I feel pretty confident. If Mickey Van de Ven is ready to start for Sunday, and hell, if we get Dragusin or however you pronounce it in the door and registered to play, and we're going into this game with two actual honest to God center backs, I'm feeling pretty damn good about it because Vicario's going to marshal them. I've got no doubt in my mind he'll get them playing. Van de Ven's speed is just impeccable. We know that we're going to get chances on the other end. It's whether or not we convert them. And honestly, I feel like we'll be able to. We've got more to prove than they do. I think and this might be a question we can ask our friend of the pod there, how he as a Man United supporter feels about it. But I feel like that fan structure going to Old Trafford, I don't know that they're necessarily going to be like that sort of 12th man almost edging the team on. I think they're going to be quicker to frustrate, and I think that works more in our advantage. We're going there, we're probably honestly not expected to come away with the win, but I think that's just going to frustrate them the longer it goes without United scoring. And the more dangerous we look, that stadium has the potential to turn on them, I think. And I do think we'll get at least a point, but I think this is an opportunity to get three, especially if we've got those center backs in, like I said.
That's a delightful little picture you paint there, Steve. I like the sound of it. Mike, what do you think?
Like Steve said, this team they're either good or they're not. There's no in between. They so let's look at their December. They lost to Newcastle 1-0, right? They beat Chelsea, but it wasn't convincing. Chelsea was winning in that game, and it took two late goals. They lost 3-0 to Bournemouth. Um, then they have group stage, right? In the Champions League. They lose to Bayern Munich on a goal from him. But then they draw with Liverpool, and Liverpool was flying at the time. They lose to West Ham. They beat Aston Villa. They lose to Nottingham Forest. Like, who the fuck is this team?
There's no
It's
rhyme or reason to it. And like not to
it's
discredit some of the teams that they've played who are, actually on their day legitimately good, but like there's just no consistency at all.
there is no consistency, and this team is, and it almost angers me that their fans are the way that they are. They seem no, they seem
Great,
like
no,
they
great Michael Scott quote. Like,
Why
what
are
does he
you the
say
way
about
that you
Toby?
are?
Why are you the way that you are? Yeah, it's
no,
perfect.
that's exactly right.
Beautiful language.
That's exactly absolutely right. And I can't understand why their fans are still, they still puff up and they still play this we deserve because we're united, right? Well, there's a fucking thousand other teams in the world that call themselves united.
And there's a
And
team in your town that's much better than you and has been for quite some time.
and despite the fact that they have a shitload of money, Manchester City, they've just recruited better. They've done a better job at spending their money than the Glazers have. And I'm sorry, Man United, you're not deserving because you're Man United. You're deserving if you go out there and you play the game that the players that you've bought are capable of playing, and they just haven't done it. They haven't done it. You know, I don't understand it. They have a lot of really good players on that team, and I don't understand why they can't win games on a consistent basis. And it pisses me off that they still think that they deserve more.
Mike's score prediction this weekend.
2-1 Tottenham.
That's
Steve,
exactly what I was thinking.
that is exactly what I was thinking too. That's our pick today.
I think it's gonna be two early goals. I think we're gonna be hanging on by a thread at the end
Hmm.
as the attack just goes all out, because that's what fucking Megamind does.
Megamind.
Very nice.
He
Very
looks like
nice.
Megamind. Come on. You
That's
paint that dude blue, he
fantastic.
Yeah.
looks just like
So hey,
Megamind.
we'll see how we fare, right? All three of us say 2-1, 2-1 Spurs. I like it. I like it. You boys
Yep.
want to start to think about some closing
Yep.
thoughts for our last little phase of this pod?
I'll
Steve, how about
start
you?
this off because I know
Yeah.
Mike's got some more impactful closing thoughts, and I want to make sure that he gets sort of the last word in there. Just setting him up. So my closing thoughts, I am just going to give a shout out to all my fellow resolution makers out there who've decided that they are going to change things up for the new year and are sticking with it, even if it's hard, even if it doesn't feel great and it's challenging. I've been trying to get back into my workout routine every morning, and my body hates me for it right now, but I know it's the right thing for me to be doing. It's something I need to do to keep up with my little one and for my own health as well. But man, it's just not easy. It's not something I really want to be doing, but you know, there's lots of people out there in the same boat as me. We've all got the same mindset, and we can push through. We can do this. We can commit to this routine and make it a lasting thing. So if you're a week into the year and you're really struggling with your routine and you're thinking about stopping, I feel your pain. I'm right there with you, but you can do it. Just power forward and let's get this done together as a big Spurs family.
Oh, that was sweet, Mike. I don't know how you top sweet Steve and
Oh,
his
he's not topping sweet Steve.
communal
No,
love
I'm bringing
for.
I'm bringing this shit way
He's
down.
going
All
scorched
right.
earth on
All right. I
I'll
guess
let
I
him
guess
tell it.
go ahead, Mike. What do you have for us for closing thoughts?
So I have a friend, Natalie, who admittedly is a fan of Newcastle United Football Club.
We were
The
we were going to have her on, but it didn't work out. We're gonna
Yeah,
have
it
her on
didn't work
some
out.
other
She
time.
had a work
Yep.
commitment, and
Yep.
um unfortunately it just didn't work out. She has been recently voted um as the international member of the fan advisory board at Newcastle United. I think is fantastic.
Quick question: by international, like non-English, essentially, like
Yeah,
everyone else.
yeah. So she
Gotcha.
represents the non-English going supporters,
Gotcha.
non-English supporters groups.
That's pretty dope. If we're
I
being
think that is
honest.
pretty dope, and that's
Yeah.
cool. I'm pleased to know her, not just because of that, but um, because she's part of our what we call a group called the Fuckwits. We like to we like to give each other shit, and we chat about soccer in general, and we had just have a good time. She's a very good person. I'm happy to have met her. Unfortunately, the club announced the because they have it's a brand new fan advisory board. So the club made the announcement today of all of the members of the new fan advisory board, and um social media doing what it does, their own um supporters group on Facebook and Twitter have been vile scumbags as
Toward all the
toward
folks
her
on the toward
toward her
hers.
in particular.
Really?
um
Is there a why, or is it just being douchebags and
they've made some pretty terrible comments.
no kidding?
Yeah. So I'm here bringing this up again. I know we don't need to do this, but unfortunately I am using my friend Natalie as the subject of this. But I think that there's a problem again with the nameless, faceless people on Twitter, on Facebook, not necessarily so much on Instagram. Um, but I think that when you have someone who is, and I'm not saying this of all English fans, but I am saying this of all people from Newcastle who tend to be right wing, who tend to be Brexity, who tend to be Hicks. Um, and I'm calling, yeah, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make Newcastle mad at me. I've already done it on Facebook when I replied to them, but because she's American, because she's a woman,
Mm-hmm.
they have taken out their frustrations on her. They can say what they want about the management, the leadership of the club, all of that, but in the end, that doesn't mean anything. We sit here and we talk about Tottenham. We tell our listeners what we think the club should do, but we don't sit here. We don't know fuck all about any of it, right? And it's just like we're just like any other fan out there. We're just saying, hey, let's have a conversation about it. But we try and be nice about it, right? We don't put anybody down. We don't try and tear anybody down. We don't try and tear down people on the fan advisory boards or the supporters groups chairman. Like, and I feel that like it's almost not worth putting your face and name out there
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who's out there who has passion for their club, who has passion for whatever it is they do, and putting your face and name out there because there might be 20, 30,000, 40,000, a million people out there who love and respect what you're doing, but don't get onto Facebook and social media to mention it. But there is going to always be that small group of people who's out there to tear somebody down because something in their life has gone wrong and it makes them feel better about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like it. And we've talked about it on this podcast before. And as a friend, I have to just go out and say, don't listen to these assholes. They're here because they're not you. And
And to
because
those assholes,
there is some jealousy there. Um, and it's in all honesty, it's just lazy. It's just lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, to
Mike.
those assholes, I'd say just go outside, touch some grass, like get some fresh air, find some perspective, because like, god damn.
It's gotta be pretty fucking just exhausting living a life where you have that much pent up aggression and frustration that you have to take it out on somebody on the internet.
Yeah.
Sniff some flowers,
So that, yeah,
Mike,
watch the
there's
sunrise.
there's
I
so
don't.
much
Natalie doesn't
interesting.
need. She
Yeah.
doesn't need any of this, but like,
Nobody
No.
does.
There's so much interesting about like just everything you brought up there. First, I'm really sorry that she's going through that. Nobody deserves that. She doesn't deserve that. And
you know, Wendy has
it's
talked about it on this podcast too. He
yeah,
took a lot of it too.
it's people will say don't take it personally, but it is personal. When you're being attacked, it is personal, right?
Right.
And it's even more challenging to manage when you don't know the people who are attacking you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if someone who you know hates you says you're an idiot and a scumbag, okay, whatever. I know you don't like me. But when it's just someone out of the blue with no connection, like that stuff hurts and leaves scars. So I feel for Natalie in that regard.
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
as you're talking, like it's making me think, okay, well, what about Spurs fandom? Could that happen within Spurs fandom? And like my observation is there are some parts of Spurs supporters that I don't like. Like there are some idiots out there. There are some people whose takes I don't like. There are some people whose abusive language I don't like. There are people who chant things that are offensive. There are people that are just scumbags in my mind. One thing I like about Spurs as a supporters group is I think maybe I'm naive, but I think that there is kind of a collective will to sort of call out and correct those types of behaviors when they occur. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just being, again, maybe I'm a naive American and I'm too far away from it, right? Like if I were match going, maybe it would be more pervasive than I think. But I feel like there's that thing. And then when you talk about Natalie, it makes me wonder, like, at what point do you just say, forget it, I'm done with the club, right? It like but then how's there a guarantee that you wouldn't run into that at another club? And what does that say to you about like how you feel about loyalty to something that you have been loyalty to or have been loyal to? There's so many like deep layered questions in that are challenging and disturbing and interesting and all that stuff.
Right.
I don't know the answers to them, but I'm thinking if I were in her exact shoes, what would I do? And the short answer is in the near term, I'd be hurt. And then I try to figure out how do I handle this. Now, the best advice you can get is don't even acknowledge it. Keep your head up, keep your mouth shut, forge ahead and do your thing. But then how do you sort out the way you feel about what's happened to you? And that all sucks. And
Yeah.
so Natalie, if you do listen to this, like we're sorry. That's crappy. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Sorry to happen to you.
Absolutely. Sorry to end it on such a downer, but like
No,
these are things that need to be discussed.
human beings do stupid things.
And
And
you know what? It segues nicely into my actual final thoughts. Dave,
what's
would you
that,
like to
Steve?
know what those are?
I would love to know if you were to make a final comment to people on the way out the door, what you might say.
Quiz.
And maybe more importantly,
Don't be an asshole.
that's what I like. And Michael, how about you?
Yeah, so just make sure that as you venture out in the snowy wonderland that is New England and Vermont in general,
Or anywhere else in the world that you
or
might be,
anywhere else in the
because
world, man, there's fucking
we're
crazy
global,
people out there.
baby. We're global.
We are global. If you're listening from India or Singapore or wherever millions
Wherever
and millions of
podcasts can be found.
possible podcast listeners are, just tread lightly and be safe.
And do you have one more thought?
Oh yeah, Tottenham Hotspur action. It's and